And I think, let's see what's going to happen here. Let me look at our stream, and we are live. Yay! Yay! Hello, and happy Friday, everybody. It is July 12th, 2024. I don't know how it's the middle of freaking July already, but it is. My name is Chris Melissinos. I'm the principal evangelist for video games here at AWS. And with me today, as always, on Boss Rush, we have Jump in Dean.
Dean Takahashi. I'm a lead writer for GameSpeed and help organize the GameSpeed events.
Awesome. And
Susan Cummings. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Tiny Rebel Games, an indie studio based out of the UK.
Awesome. And we have with static here, Mark DeLoura. Mark, it will be joining us, so we're just going to keep his staticky window up so it's ready for when he joins us. But he's coming in just a little bit late today. And we already have somebody that popped said, hello, world. Hello. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Yeah, so this is Boss Rush. This is where we kind of break down some of the big game news and thoughts that we have about the industry. And yeah, we have a lot to cover because we were gone last week. My apologies. I was moving one of my kids to New York to start a new job. And yeah. So that's it's a weird thing. It is a weird thing to help one of your kids relocate to another major city. But it was really awesome and so rewarding as a parent, and just so proud of her. So anyway, that's why we were gone last week, because we would take care of family, and of course 4th of July. But now we're back, and we have like 2 weeks of stuff to cover. So I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let my colleagues lean in here, as we always start with Dean. Dean, why don't you lead us off and tell us what are the couple 2-3 things that you're most excited about, I want to talk about on today's episode?
Well, let's see. I spent 3 of the days this week over at our VentureBeat event in San Francisco, Transform 2024, and that was very nice to see people coming out for an event again. It's our AI event, and it feels like there's three AI events a week now, and so ours was focused on the enterprise. Not so much gaming talk there, but I did moderate a roundtable there on digital twins, and that was interesting to hear how the digital twin movement really kind of started in games with game engines, and has moved over into interesting areas like health, and they're using trying to create digital twins of our bodies so they can figure out things like the exact dosage of medicine that your body needs in any given situation. So simulating the human body is on the agenda for the digital twin makers. I thought that was interesting.
That is.
I always wondered about that. Like, you look at a pill bottle and it gives you an amount you're supposed to take, but it has no idea how much you weigh, how old you are, above 12. And that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and yet everybody gets the same prescription or the same number of pills you have to take or whatever. But these guys were starting out very focused on diabetes patients and how they need to measure things exactly and control their food intake pretty precisely so that they can live.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Interesting migration of that digital twin technology.
And so now we've gone from digital twins for medical discovery and probing to let's just fill a virtual space with a million avatars that are just going to slam into each other and bump around. So I know there is more to it than that, of course, right? In robotics and all those other things. But yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. What was the next big thing there?
Well, let's see. There was also an IPO in the game industry this week. Does anybody know what it was?
No.
Okay. Do tell, Dean.
Well,
if anybody listening knows, go ahead and pop it into chat.
Yeah, no, the games industry biz people were paying attention here, and Shift Up, which is the maker of Stellar Blade, they did an IPO in South Korea, and raised $320 million. And so it was the biggest gaming IPO in South Korea for more than 2 years now. And I think the last time they raised money, I think, was 2021. So on the success of Stellar Blade, just one game, they went public. So good for them.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that gets a little, yeah, we get a little air horn for that. Good for them.
Plenty of other news. So we're still keeping close track on the sort of layoff situation across the whole game industry. And Amir Satvat has been starting to do calculations. He's looking at the rate of layoffs that he sees, and he thinks that we're still going to have a lot more in 2024, but the rate is slowing down. So as an example, I think he counts about 11,000 people laid off in the first half of the year. And he sees maybe 4,400 more by the end of 2024. So the rate at least is, definitely cut dramatically in the second half of the year. But there's so much sort of momentum to this, I guess, that it takes a while also for hiring to cross over. And he still expects the crossover of more hirings in a month than layoffs in a month to happen by September. So it's some somber news there. There's still a lot more cutting that will happen. And this is purely based on the number trends, based on what he's tracking, what has happened so far, and how he thinks the industry can turn itself as a big boat. So it's not really affected by things like macroeconomic predictions or changes that are on a more dramatic level, but just based on how things are going. This is how he thinks things will end. So.
Well, that's it. It's good that obviously it's not good when we're continuing to see layoffs, but it is hopeful that we're starting to see that slow down and starting to see more, jobs start to open up, and hopefully we continue on that trend of fewer reductions and more increases as his numbers are predicting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And there's still a lot of big fundings that are happening. The latest this week was Volley, and they raised $55 million for voice-enabled AI games for things like Amazon Alexa. Lightspeed was one of the co-leaders on that, along with Microsoft M12 Ventures. And then like the week before, when we were off, KID had also raised $45 million for making games safe for kids. So,
which is great. It's a tough space, and it's tough to get people to opt into it. I'm a little curious on the first one. They've tried for a while now to get people playing games on Alexa. I'm curious what they're doing differently that makes them think it's going to look at Mark's suspicious face. I knew I would see that. I think about that.
I was asking that same question to Amazon people at GDC this year.
Yeah, they have about 5 million players a month now, and it's across Amazon Alexa, Fire TV, Roku TVs, and mobile devices.
Yeah.
They're games like Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune and 20 Questions. So very casual.
Mass market stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's the dirty little secret, right? Is that a lot of people do play. A lot of people do play Alexa games.
Do they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I will even make a note to see if we have any stats that we talk about. Okay.
Yeah.
So on next phosphorus, we can talk about it. Let's get some stats.
I want them to, for sure. I just don't have any evidence of it yet.
Yeah. I mean, Volley said that these games were played in over 30 million homes altogether. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Not bad.
Here's the $1 billion idea that I've had around that. Why, how do we use those types of platforms to create things like, let's turn your house into an escape room that's based on a particular TV property, and each room that has these Echo devices in it are unlocking different pieces. Oh my goodness, like that'd be great.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right,
we're
let's
so
do it.
hardcore into escape rooms right now. I'm all over that.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, look who joined us. It was Mark DeLoura.
Who? What? I've been here for an hour. I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, I went to the dentist to see my shiny teeth.
Yeah. That's right. Exactly. You're like Chip Skylar from the Fairly Odd Parents with your shiny teeth. That was the pop singer.
It's not gonna last long.
Singing about his teeth.
That's what I supposed to say. I've been here the whole time, Mark.
I have been. I've been eavesdropping. I learned a lot.
Awesome.
All kinds of more crazy financial news too. Infinite Reality is a metaverse company. They acquired Land Vault, the web game developer for brands. They had previously been a very big Roblox game developer. I think they're still doing that, but they're positioning more as a web-based. And so they were acquired by Infinite Reality for $450 million. Land Vault has, I think, 36 people working for them. And Infinite Reality has 140 employees. And at the same time this week, Infinite Reality raised $350 million at a $5.1 billion valuation for its immersive platform and enterprise service technologies related to the metaverse. So I have not been inside an Infinite Reality world myself. So very interesting that these guys have done this. This is their fifth acquisition this year, and they are doing all stock deals. And so you have to believe in their stock. And they bought the drone racing league for $250 million.
Oof. So,
it's making more sense now that you're telling me they're all stock deals. I was scratching my head there at that being a cash deal. So now it's coming clear to me.
Yeah, so we're very enthusiastic here about our stock.
I have this funny money, and I'm going to give you some of this funny money. Sorry, I'm being a bit of a smart ass today.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. You guys see news that also caught your eye this week?
What did we think about? I saw Quali bought like 3.5% of Devolver.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That was announced.
I also read about how they're working with a Saudi studio called Fahi Studio. In Riyadh, and that they're supporting them. This Fahi also got an investment from Neom Media, I guess the region of Saudi Arabia that's building the Line City, which is supposed to have 9 million people in a linear city pretty soon.
Wow.
So Quali is helping to take the Saudi game developers and take them onto the global stage. So very interesting. But yeah, they're also investing in Devolver.
I don't know if this is news, but it was news to me that the guys who made Adopt Me, Innersloth, that they've started a fund for games. Did you guys know this?
Oh
no.
Called Outer Sloth. I'll link it.
Oh wait, yeah. Innersloth.
You guys know about this?
This is the Among Us books, right?
Yeah.
But they've started a fund. They're saying that they'll fund games up to like $2 million.
Oh yeah,
they
there
don't
we
want
go.
Any royalties. They don't want any involvement. They just want to. They feel very fortunate. It says that they've had the success they have, and they want to give it back.
Yeah, they announced this around the time of the Summer Game Fest.
Did they? I totally missed this. Someone Someone pointed this out to me this week, and if you go to their website,
Yep, I've got the website up and running for up and showing everybody so they can.
Yeah, it sounds almost too good to be true. I just think it's awesome. I hope we see more of these things where someone has great success and they decide to help everybody else out. Like, we need that right now. So
yeah,
more of those, please.
Wow, and some of these games that they're having here look awesome. Like there's Mossfield Archives. The art, it's like cell shaded.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Oh, I'm such a sucker for cell shaded art. I love that whole aesthetic. So for me, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of awesome,
anyway,
I'll say speaking of awesome games, Mark, you were up at the Games for Change conference last week. How did that go?
Fantastic. It was great. I mean, it's always great. It's good to get a bunch of people together and talk about what else we can use games for and how we might expand the market into other areas, all of that kind of stuff. Good participation from folks at the UN talking about sustainable development goals. UNESCO folks were there. Department of Ed was there talking about the small business grant program, which everybody should check into if they're interested in learning games. I mean, it was great. I was super excited to see that the Wilson Center, which is a quasi-governmental institution here in the U.S., won for its policy game focused on plastic pollution. They won an award for that. I was super excited about that because, of course, they're old friends of mine from when I worked in D.C. But if you're curious about using games for other things, entertainment, health and fitness, citizen science, etc. The best place to start is the award winners from Games for Change 2024. I highly recommend checking out the website and then just go check out all those games. There's some really great stuff.
Yeah, I've got the site up here and I'm actually trying to find where the award winners are listed. Here we go. Let's see. Awards. There we go. Best in Innovation. Highland Song, Stay Alive, My Son, Stray Gods.
That looks amazing. Stay Alive, My Son is completely amazing.
Really?
Beautiful. They've done a volumetric video capture of real-time footage, and then it's played back inside of VR. So it's this very interesting hybrid between reality and virtual reality. Super interesting story. Yeah, there was just so much good stuff this year. Oh, and awesome. The people from Quad Gods were there. The esports movie that's coming out on HBO Max. 4 guys, I didn't get the whole story. 4 guys in wheelchairs who play esports, who are awesome. And we got to hang out and catch up and talk about their movie might have come out on the 10th.
Wow. Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, we'll definitely check it out. Speaking of esports, right? Did you all see that the International Olympic Committee just announced the inaugural esports event, esports games for 2025 to be held in Saudi Arabia?
Wow, that big Saudi Arabia push. Wow. Way to go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They've already got the Esports World Cup going on right now. And it's very Olympic-like with, I guess dozens of games and a prize pool of $60 million. So that one's going to end on August 24th and 25th. They're all in on esports for sure.
It's great.
Yeah, which is awesome, right? And it's one of these things, I'll share with you real quickly. I have friends who, where I live, it's a big football town, Washington Commanders training facility is like 5 miles from our house. And so for me, it's always like, hey, let's go watch the sports events with all the sports points that are scored by taking the sports ball that way. Anyway, so for friends of mine, one of their sons actually plays in the NFL and played in the NFL, and we would always have this discussion around esports, and with my friends going, are those real sports? And even these players that play in professional team stuff, they're like, yes, it is. Like, what don't you get? Like the stress that players are under, the amount of concentration that has to be, like, these are real sports just because, they're not out there running on a field doesn't mean that it's incredibly physically and mentally taxing. And I think there was even a report done several years ago where they looked at like the highest level like of competitive esports players and then like quarterbacks during the Super Bowl, and like all the markers for stress are like the same. And it's like, yeah, so they're not necessarily the biggest, physically or whatever, but to deny the level of skill and determination and concentration, like to play these things, is that's slowly going away, right? And things like this, where the International Olympic Committee is like, okay, yes, this is now a sanctioned event by our organization. That's a good thing. That's a great thing. So anyway, yeah.
There is a show that's starting on Netflix today where kittens explode. So Exploding Kittens has made the jump from card game, created by Matt Inman and Elon Lee's Fourth Wall team, the folks who used to make video games, but made weird games at 42 Entertainment. They're now making all these card games, but for the last couple of years, Inman has been working on Exploding Kittens for Netflix, and it's debuting today. It's pretty wacky. It's about a battle between a god cat and a devil cat, and both God and the devil get sort of fired from their jobs, and they're booted down to earth, and they take the form of cats, and then they are they're housed by neighbors who live next door to each other, and so it's pretty wacky story.
I love that. Yeah, I've got the article up here and the site for everyone to see. That's great. Yeah. Oh yeah, there they are, slap fighting.
Yeah. And,
there you go.
Apparently, Peter Chernin was one of the investors in Fourth Wall, and he's the one who sort of helped make all the introductions to folks like Mike Judge and
that makes
Silicon
sense.
Valley guy.
Elon, the guy who started the company that makes Exploding Kittens, he came from Fourth Wall. I met him just as he was closing the thing down and starting the other. Good guy, though.
Yeah,
from our industry.
I was interviewing Elon about this from the very beginning when they had a Kickstarter way back 2015 or so, and
must have been,
they were targeting $10,000 for the Kickstarter, and they raised $8.7 million.
Well,
just from the name.
Yeah, I mean, from your article here, Dean, if I may, it said, when you were interviewing him, Inman said, it was inspired by when I was in my early 20s. I had a girlfriend. Her parents had a cat that simultaneously believed like God and the Antichrist. Her parents were deeply religious to the point where it was weird. They actually had a priest come over and perform an exorcism on their cat. And I would have given everything to have been in that room and seen that. I can't and I won't. And then he goes on to say, the log line was something like, God's bad at his job. He gets fired. He's sent to earth in the body of a mildly obese cat. Simultaneously, the Antichrist is very bad at her job. She's very kind and very sweet. She's walking around handing out Gatorade and apologizing for it, so she gets fired. And part of her rehab is he has to learn how to be good. She has to learn to be evil. And they live next to each other. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm in. I will definitely be checking this out tonight.
Pretty funny stuff there.
That's awesome.
Today is also Exploding Kittens is out today on Netflix.
Yeah.
And today is also the 1-year anniversary of Savvy Games Group buying Scopely for $4.9 billion.
Yeah.
So bought the mobile game company. And then very shortly after that, Scopely launched Monopoly Go. And Monopoly Go generated $2 billion in its first 10 months, and probably a fair amount more by now. So not a bad move by Savvy there.
Now, have you all ever tried? Have you all played Monopoly Go at all? Have you tried it?
Yeah,
I think
like a half
playing
hour of it.
loose term.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a very loose term. It is it is the exactly. And the fact that your principal engagement, you can hold it down so it auto plays for you.
Ooh.
If you hold down the go button long enough, it turns green. It's like it will just auto move. But it is so beautifully done. Like it is so
I
slick.
respect it. It's not
Ye-
my thing, but I
Yes.
absolutely respect it for what it is.
And they're
Very best
typically
way
not
to-
mine, but it's got me. Like I'm in it every day now. Just checking
Are
that
you?
out. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It's the perfect like second screen game. We're watching something and I'm like Supercell. We just got finished watching that new superhero show on Netflix. It was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, that's where I'd sit there and just play along, which was amazing. Dean, though, I do want to say, taking one step back with regard to Netflix, another Netflix announcement that just happened was they now have their games playable on TV in certain regions. So not just on mobile now. So the games that they've been leaning into, I think there are 10 games in the initial catalog, and you're able to use your phone as the controller, and you can now play those games on your television. They've got like, Hades and like really good indie games, like a whole collection of them. And they just started rolling out that trial now. So
Yeah.
This
Netflix
is
is
who?
making a push. Huh?
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah. I think they announced 14 games or so about a month ago. So yeah, they are moving right ahead. They have a leadership change. Like Mike Verdu, who started it 3 years ago, has moved on to something, I guess, smaller scale, but secret still. So
Yeah.
I think given
Has he left? I thought he was changing roles within Netflix.
Yeah, he was giving up the role of leading the whole group, but then moving
He was
into a
something
project.
within it.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was interesting. So you remember how Pow World, like exploded, got 25 million players in a month earlier this year, and everybody joked it was Pokemon with guns, right? And everybody's waiting for Nintendo to drop the hammer on them and file a lawsuit, or the Pokemon company too. So what happened this week was Pow World got official licensing partners.
I saw that.
Aniplex and Sony Music Entertainment. And so Sony is moving into this, and they're going to hit the sort of the licensing trail here. And
how's the game doing now? Are people playing it? I lost track.
I mean, it's getting a big update, so I think it's about to draw a bunch of people back. In fact, well, yeah, I don't remember exactly when it's coming out, the update, but they're hitting a licensing expo in Shanghai today, and so Pow World surprisingly has partners who believe that it's going to withstand any kind of licensing challenge.
Considering that they're going to go up against like the biggest of the licenses. Yeah, that's interesting. That leads me to an interesting topic I wanted to talk about, which is this Manor Lord controversy on LinkedIn. Have you guys seen this? I think that's an interesting thing. What's his name? Raphael. Can't think of his name. He used to work with Scott Miller, Mark, back in the day when we were doing green screen. That guy. Remember him? Raphael?
Yeah,
so he posted some scathing thing on LinkedIn about games like these, and the fact that Manor Lord went out, did really well at first, and then you posted about it too, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, actually, I just responded to one of the comments that was made about the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a I haven't played it yet, but it was made by one guy and an incredibly supportive publisher. What I loved was the publisher sticking up for the developer on here. He responded to Raphael's thing, basically saying, I told him this was going to happen. I warned him it's going to happen. As soon as you're successful, everyone's going to shit all over you, sort of thing. And so basically, because Mark got confused, they put out this game, sold a bunch of copies on Steam, but people are critical of the fact that now the DAUs are very quickly down because it's only in early access. It's a small game, and so I think that the pushback on this is the fact of, are we in a crisis as an industry that we think everything has to be live ops? and that you can't just put a game out and be successful with a game. Once upon a time, Max Payne was 4 hours long.
Mhm.
We were all okay with that. I was okay with that. I enjoyed
That's
playing the
all?
4 hour Max Payne.
4 hours? Wait a minute.
Yeah, I played it in 4 hours back in the day. But so I just thought it was an interesting topic. I do spend a lot of time soul searching and thinking about it, and I think it sucks that we're pushing back on one guy who was very successful.
Yeah. So the context of the article was Raphael was, which by the way, his post. I mean, what I love about him is he's got an opinion and he is going to dissect the stuff and he just goes in, and I do love engaging with him. But it was boosting somebody else's comment about this, where they were like, Mandalore just isn't a real game. Somebody had written, I played the game for 40 hours and I've concluded that it's only 10% of a game. And they're like, how can you keep comparing these AAA games to these indie games? And part of the original poster's discussion was, how do we as an industry, inform consumers that, it takes a lot to make these video games. It takes a lot of time and effort and these sorts of things. How do we elevate that? And part of my stuff was, man, you played 40 hours for 10%. That's a 400-hour game at 100%. At least the point I had was, as a consumer, like, do I care? Like, do I need to know that? Right. And so, do we care about the fact that a game can be made by a single person and goes out there and you love to play it? Or do we need to know, a massive movie, how much that costs to make versus a smaller movie? Yes, it's good to understand the craft and good to understand what goes into it. But from a consumer's perspective, is that what I think about when I'm making a judgment call about a piece of content? So I get the need and want, or I should say the want, to let people know, hey, this is the game you get, because it's really a complex thing.
Yeah.
But as a consumer, like, hey, I've got finite dollars, finite time. I understand it's complex, but I still don't like your game. Right?
Yeah. Well, and perhaps has early access been overused and,
that's another one. Yeah.
To be very frequently higher funded projects that are finished, where that wasn't the point of early access back in the day. It was for things like this, where someone's like, this is just me, and I'm going to deliver 10% of the game, and I'm going to keep giving you more. And if I don't do that, obviously you're going to stop funding my things in the future. But instead, it's become finished products that just kind of linger in early access, or use it as to raise more money, and it's kind of ruined it for the little guys that are using it the way I think it was originally intended.
I don't understand what the upset is. I think I'm just completely missing the plot.
They get a bump a year later when they go 1.0, right, or whatever, however long it takes. So in that sense, it's almost like they get one marketing push when they go early access, and then when they go 1.0, they're getting it.
The takeaway was just, I think, a bit of sour grapes, Mark. It was like, look, like the developer's fine. He made a bunch of money. He can afford now to make more content.
Yeah,
but apparently that's a failure.
People are upset because somebody launched in early access and then they made some money and they're going to keep developing it. That's why they're upset.
No, I didn't. I didn't read that at all. Actually, the way I read it was the person that made the original post they said, I normally don't get salty about this stuff publicly, but it just rubbed me the wrong way that people are discounting the effort that it takes to make games, and Raphael was just kind of signal boosting that thought. And yes, it is super frustrating, but at the same time, the analogy I use all the time, right, is nobody calls the water company to ask them what faucet to put in their kitchen. What you care about, right, is getting this beautiful new touch, hands-free faucet, but you don't think about the $1 trillion in infrastructure that actually goes into delivering clean water, a service that you'll die if you don't have it. Nobody thinks about it, nobody cares, and we all complain about the bill, right? And so, the water industry can go, do you know what, how much money and effort it takes for desalination, stuff? I don't care. I just want water. And so when we kind of think about it in those terms, yeah, it's super complex in art, but that isn't necessarily the responsibility of the consumer of that art to be able to recognize that and go, well, I really didn't like this thing, but given how long and difficult it is, okay, maybe I like it a bit more. Do you know what I mean? So
maybe we read a different post, because I think he's deleted it since, because I think he had some really nasty feedback to it. The post I'm talking about, the post I'm talking about was one kind of trashing the developer, saying it's misguided to think that you can do this and not think about live support.
Well, look at that. A miscommunication online. How the hell does that happen?
It was a mistake to launch this way, if I'm remembering correctly, to launch a piece of a game and not have a whole bunch of content ready to go. And he got pushed back for that, basically saying there shouldn't be a market for little indie shops who can't possibly do that. That's what
people also just speed through content way faster than developers expect, right?
Yes, they do.
We've got a month's worth of content here. We got a lot of time for the next update, right? And then all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, everybody's going, "Where?"
But aren't we conditioning consumers to do that with every type of content we have now?
Yeah.
You know, Spotify, all of it lets you context shift so fast, and you chew through things. I don't know about you all, but there are times I binge watch shit and I'm like, I know we're 4th episode in, but what's the name of the main person's name again? I know we're 4 episodes in, because you just chew through it all, you know?
Yeah, you can go through Exploding Kittens all in one day now.
Right? Oh my goodness. All right, so let's get on to some other news.
Yeah, here's a little quiz for you guys. Which game in the last week reached 50 million downloads in 1 week?
Oh, I don't know. Also, can I also just, I'm sorry, Dean, can I also just say, since Susan forwarded us in our group chat the link, we were talking about a different Raphael.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sitting here scrolling through the timeline going, where the hell is this post she's talking about? I don't see it. And you said that it's a totally different Raphael.
To be a mama?
You're talking about Raph.
It's like that Saturday Night Live thing. Never mind.
Alexa, what's the weather? The weather is 67 degrees, managing kids and work all the time.
Good morning, guys.
All right, so 50 million download game.
All at once.
Well, I will see you at the office. I'm headed there now to drop off the
Zone
kids.
Zero.
My Echo Frames make sure I never
debuted on
miss
July
a thing.
4th on PC, PlayStation 5, Android, and iOS. 50 million downloads. These were the folks who made Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail.
Oh, geez, there we go.
Okay.
And let's see, App Magic measured, I guess, how it did, and it got about $24.6 million in revenue from those 50 million players. So on average, 50 cents per player is what's being spent on this game, and it's I guess a little shy of the launch numbers for Genshin Impact and Honkai, but nothing to sneeze at. It's $25 million in a week, and 50 million players. Quite impressive there. So nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool indeed. Yeah.
Gotta try that out.
Yeah. And I wrote a story about Audio Mob, which is a audio ads company doing a deal with Voodoo, hyper casual / casual games company. And I thought it was interesting that these audio ads are doing well. They're taking off, and they have a way of measuring whether your volume is up or not. And so, like, a lot of video ads, they automatically play. You can probably see them on VentureBeat, right? But they autoplay, and they autoplay silently, right? Because your sound, you have to click on it in order to get the sound going. But these ads, they detect whether your sound is on, and then if it's like a rewarded ad or something, you have to tap to make sure your sound goes up. And so they only count the ad impression if the sound is up like 10% or higher. And so there's a bit more, I guess, results orientation that you get out of these. And they do the ads for mobile games and apps now, and also podcasts. So we should get in touch with them.
Totally.
But yeah, Audio Mob. It surprised me. They also create the ads so they're skippable, so you can actually tap on them to skip the ad as well. And so they're really more going for quality of results, which is good.
Yeah. No, I think that's, I think that's super interesting, right? And it also helps to ensure a more fair exchange of, free play versus, the currency of advertising that actually funds the stuff that you can play for free.
They call it a value exchange. That's better.
That's right. Yep.
So you get something out of it, and the advertisers also get something in the form of players who are interested in the ad.
Yeah.
They can charge the developer more money for the audio playing ad versus.
Yeah, they get higher CPMs.
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
Very cool.
What do you think of the Xbox Game Pass news this week?
Oh yeah.
Well, there was a bunch of news, right? So.
Was there? I only kind of got headlines on it. So what do you know?
Well, I got about 11 minutes ago. I wrote a column.
You did great.
While you guys were watching,
just read it.
I ran at 10 a.m. and first half of it is all about Apple, sort of changing its policy on near field communications and allowing other payment services companies now to access it, so you can Instapay or tap and pay using other payment services now besides Apple Pay. And so the EU kind of demanded this of them, that this was they were viewing this as part of Apple's monopoly.
Right.
And so for antitrust reasons, they went after Apple, and Apple has agreed to allow other payment services companies now to use that very convenient form of paying. But I also wrote about this in the context of Microsoft, acquires Activision Blizzard, makes friends with the FTC by saying we're going to license Call of Duty out to all these other companies, that make sure Sony gets it, Nintendo gets it, Steam gets it, right? And then, some months after the deal was done here, they raise prices, right? And like raising prices and antitrust, right? This is where the FTC might sort of raise their eyebrows and go, wait a minute, we were out here approving this deal eventually because to protect consumers, right? And protecting consumers from things like rising prices is one reason regulatory bodies stop acquisitions from happening, right? And they just provided the FTC with some new evidence that prices are going up for consumers, right? With their service. Now, if you look at this, like you're getting something like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 for that extra $3 a month that you're paying, and so when you think about that, it's not a bad deal, but still, it is more revenue going into Microsoft's hands. So.
Mm-hmm.
I missed all this. I'm reading about it now as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's an option. You have the option to not sort of get the day one games like Call of Duty, but and so your price can stay the same there, right? So
yeah,
I would guess that maybe the lawyers insisted on that part happening. Because then you can argue, it's not a price increase, right? It's only a price increase if you want the extra.
You're opting into a higher level of service.
Yeah. So they're treading in an area where I think they should be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little reminiscent of all the video streaming services saying, "Hey, you can pay the same price and now get ads." Or, you could upcharge. You might get ads. I'm like, wait.
It's almost as if the cost of all that content is not be supported by the subscription prices that they've charged.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess they showed so much stuff from like a month ago at the Summer Game Fest, and they're going like, everybody wants our stuff now, and so yes, here's the other part of that. The other shoe dropping is you got to pay a little bit more.
Yeah. But I'm not going to play more hours in my day. So why should I have to pay more? I'm probably not.
They hate you, Mark.
Impossible. It is impossible.
You need to play more. What is up with you?
It is well, yes. Stop watching so much TV and start playing more games. I mean,
who's watching TV? All I do is study Japanese. Jeez.
Well, since we mentioned,
is happy.
Yeah, well, since we mentioned Mark here, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our very own Mark DeLoura was just interviewed on 2 separate shows.
I don't know how that happened.
Right, on Electric Playground stuff with Vic Lucas, right, and then on the Fourth Curtain with Alexander Soropian. So, yay, Mark!
Marketing people are doing great work.
Who's marketing people?
I was totally honored to speak with both of them. Super fun. I mean, Alex has such a.
Alex is fun. I did one with Alex too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Oh, we've got 2.
Yeah, they're just great, right? Both of those guys were super awesome. And Vic pulled out this 1998 interview I did. It was like the first video interview I ever did at Nintendo.
Yes, it was.
Like, super honored to do it and super nervous. I bought a blazer.
And you were talking about, I believe, the Game Boy camera, right?
Game Boy camera and the pocket, like the printer and the camera.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a thing. So it's funny to look back on that. I tried to find that. I think I still
have it. I have it.
Boy.
I did. Whoa, not the Game Boy. Your video. I've downloaded it, and it's on my Plex server actually. So
nice.
So I've got. I collect a lot of that stuff. You're definitely in the mix, buddy.
It's so great to catch up with him. I mean, obviously we've talked off and on over the years, but to be able to have a long conversation about how the industry has gone since we had that conversation was super fun.
Yeah. No, definitely everybody check out Mark's interviews, both of them. Really fantastic. Fantastic.
I'm sorry I talk so much. I should make shorter interviews.
No, here's the thing. I mean, Mark, you and I have been friends now for 25 years almost. That's just stupid on its face. But it's been 25 years. But it's close to that. And I forget some of the stuff that you had done even before I mentioned, like the amount of time you'd spent working on VR stuff and just all those other pieces of your background, right? Just, absolutely fascinating. So good job, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Good job doing it.
I appreciate it. Anyway.
Now, Dean, you and I need to figure out how we rate some sort of mention. I interviewed Alex for one of my shows. We have to figure out how we, maybe Dean and I will just have to go do a joint session with Alex.
That's
but yeah,
Alex spoke at our conference.
Yeah. Oh, he's awesome.
Waiting for the invitation.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. But speaking of other Xbox news, there was an interview that was done with some Xbox management that talked about how AI can be used to support game development. And I thought was really interesting is they talked this is about the creating efficiencies and lowering friction and speeding the development process. And one of the things they were clear to say is that this doesn't replace creatives. This doesn't replace writers, designers, right? It's how you use tools to do it. I fully agree with that, right? And that's the perspective we take as well, right? Is that these are tools to accelerate your capabilities, not to go ahead and replace your capabilities, right? So I thought that was really refreshing to hear.
And from going to the VentureBeat event this week, I mean, it seems like this is happening in every industry, right? There was an announcement this week that a company called Axiomatic is using AI to help out the chip industry with chip manufacturing, and so it's it's just filtering into the processes of every workplace, I think. So, no surprise that it's being used in games. How extensively, how much payoff, and that's what everybody's sort of waiting for.
I'm looking just to see more innovative approaches to it. It feels like there was an article the other day, like 90% or something like that of the companies trying to do AI in games are trying to make NPC systems. Goddamn NPC systems do we need? Like, I think that there's more to be done there than creating, interesting NPCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see different. The other part would be UGC, automated game creation, right? We'll see.
I'm sorry, that one just drives me a bit batty. Automated game creation. Yep, it's the big fat make my game button that you can click, and then look at that. It made a game that's just going to blow everybody away, right?
I'm assuming, Dean, you mean less about like make the whole game and more like empowering the users to create stuff within it.
And also like there's a lot more sort of trusted AI efforts going on in the enterprise side of things. Like the company that won the award here was called Instabase at our conference, and they they produce AI results for different enterprise workers, right? But they also include the provenance information, the links back to whatever the source of the information is, so you can tell that it's not hallucination, right? And so you can also tell what details are available about sort of the copyright status of the thing that you're getting when you do these searches, right? So enterprises demand this kind of they're not necessarily going for pure open AI chat GPT like results, right? They want the information attached to it. So I think that's going to be normal in a very short amount of time.
Years ago, and we're talking now like 20 years ago, there was a company, I'm blanking on the name, and they were in actually Sun's booth at GDC. It was a company that basically allowed you to take, like the characters for your game, like the principal characters and their families, and then you kind of connected, these families, this is kind of their history together, so on and so forth. And then it would kind of flesh out the world with all of the deeper data and multiple generations of offspring. And then you could use that data to populate your world. And so that way, if you're on one side, of this landmass in this village, and the shopkeeper that you're talking to discovers that you were the person that killed his brother-in-law in this other village, like it affects the way this happens, right? So there was no like AI systems behind it. They just built this crazy platform to try to do it. So we've been trying to do that, right, for a really long time. But as Mark and I were chatting in the YouTube chat there, it also reminds us, of the Shenmue. Do you know where any sailors are? Where are sailors hanging out? Did you see some sailors, for me to find like,
so many. It's just stuck in my head now for the rest of time because he says it so many times.
Exactly. But
interesting.
I mean, when you play those games, do you talk to all the NPCs? I don't. I'm like, I know I don't want to know, what happened to your cow. I just need to find the entrance to this dungeon. Can you help me and let me get on? Thank you.
My one job, though, is to tell you my backstory.
Exactly.
Don't deprive me of my duty. What about my goats?
One other interesting piece of news this week too is that Girls in Tech shut down after 17 years. So Adriana Gascon started this almost about the same time I joined VentureBeat, and I interviewed her about it back then and along the way, and it grew to 250,000 members and 35 chapters around the world, more than 60 countries, during the pandemic they had to adapt. They also moved to Nashville, and all the sort of corporate funders just kind of all at the same time, they kind of gave up, and they were under pressure themselves economically, and so they cut back. But one of the things she said that was interesting to me was that the DEI departments were the source of their funding, right? And DEI is under such pressure, political pressure now.
Right.
Right.
Like it's just nothing but woke madness, right? And so a lot of the companies were freezing those funds or cutting the funds because of the political pressure that's on them during the American political campaign right now, right?
Right.
And so those DEI funds didn't flow through to this nonprofit anymore that was, supporting girls in tech. So it's a shame, I think that this is where sort of the times are, I guess, and so yeah, any kinds of organizations that are going to depend on that DEI money, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's very, very sad to hear. Right after all these years of doing that work, really important as an industry. We need to continue to move forward for equitable inclusion. Right?
Yeah.
We cannot, as I always say, we cannot purport to be an art for all if we don't have all voices represented in it. Right, and that's depressing to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are other women in tech groups out there, and they're still functioning. But yeah, this was a very big one.
Yeah. Well,
I wonder. There was a lot of money from the like spurt in interest in growing computer science and tech education. A lot of that ended up congealing around code.org over time. So some of the smaller code focused nonprofits were having trouble raising funding. I would be curious. I haven't talked to Hadi at code.org recently, but hopefully they're still doing fine. I don't think they were as reliant on the DEI token income.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is something we need to continue to invest into, and it's just so aggravating to see the madness that's like had this impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, I know we're going to be coming up to the end here. I have a few more minutes to stay on because we have a couple other pieces to touch on if you all do as well. But I wanted to also shift gears for a moment here and say, Susan, it's great to have you back. I know that you weren't feeling well for a little while there, but we also wanted to hear an update that your partner, Lee, went ahead and created a game that you were all playing, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah,
Right.
He's doing his next one too.
So this was kind of like a murder mystery party type of game.
Yeah. We had done one. We had done a murder mystery that I bought online because we've gotten more and more of our family into board games, and we were a bit disappointed with the one that we bought online. It was, if you've done any murder mysteries, like it was really like no one was going to get from that experience to know the answer in any real way. It was just kind of guessing. So he wanted to do something better. And so he did this murder mystery that took place at a pub that was set to close, and an evil golf club owner. I'm completely diminishing this. It was really well written. And so we all got together and did this murder mystery. It was blast. His next game is a bit of feature creep and is becoming less a murder mystery and more like an escape room meets a collectible card game meets I don't know what the fuck, but it's really good. And I've been supporting him on that. But that's going to be probably in a couple months. I'm kind of hoping like next GDC I can bring one of these experiences and host a little event there.
Yes. Oh, we need to do a live one of those. Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. We've gotten very into the notion of designing like collectible card games and things like that. I found this great tool called Dexterous. I don't know if you guys have come across Dexterous for creating collectible card games. It's free. It's free.
What's it called?
It's called Dexterous. It's at dexterous.com.au. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with this.
Very
it's
cool.
free for the basic level of it, and it gives you templates for what your cards look like, and you can customize all of it as a template. And then you go in and you can just import a spreadsheet that has, each of the categories, like the name on the card, the description on the card, and stuff, and it just spits it out for you as a PDF.
Cool.
What?
So that
Okay.
plus AI art, and you can very quickly create your own collectible card game. So that's one of our spare time hobbies now, is starting to create some collectible card
Right.
games.
That or creating your own art that you can add to it.
Yes, that too. For those of us who aren't artists, it's a really nice way.
It looked like KCD.
Oh, that's really.
Yeah, Dean, you'd be excited. We've got a ramen collectible card game in the works.
Oh.
Tinkering in our brain. We're gonna do it.
Ooh, I get hungry thinking about that.
I know. That's hobbyists.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I'm glad you had some fun doing that too. And those. There was the ring and Mark's dogs going
It
ahead
must be
and
a sign of 10:30.
protecting the Mushroom Kingdom there.
Have to get that.
So
So
before
slightly happy news for me to end with, I guess, is Gamescom LATAM drew more than 100,000 visitors.
yeah.
Sao Paulo. In
Wow.
Brazil. I was there.
That's
That was a lot of fun. There were 124 exhibitors from 66 countries at that one, and that makes
That's
it
fantastic.
the largest expo for games in the Americas now. So if you're wondering where E3 went, it's
That's
down
where
in,
it went.
It's down
There
in
you go.
Brazil.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I had two other little bits here. First was, three actually. So Ralph Koster's Playable Worlds just announced the launch of their first experience being delivered on their platform. Yay!
Love that.
Stars
Yeah,
Reach,
super
and
exciting.
it's I think in wish listing on Steam right now. So people should definitely go ahead and check that out. The other one was Nintendo Switch just beat out the record set by the NES on how it's now become the second longest available and supported game console in Nintendo's history. The first, of course, being the Game Boy, but now it beat like the most active, weeks or months or something like that in market. So Switch,
Fantastic.
yeah. So Switch is the big
10
one.
years now? Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I
Which is
cannot wait
ridiculous.
to hear some announcement of Switch 2, which certainly seems like it's coming.
Yeah, well, we're going to wait to hear that. And then the last thing was Steam sale just happened. So yes, we've added to our pile of shame. I picked up Sonic Frontiers. Let's see. Panzer Dragoon Remake, Hunt Down, Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove, Bro Force, Hi-Fi Rush, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, Xenotilt, Mullet Mad Jack, Animal Well,
How many
and
of these are you gonna
Castle
play?
Evolution. Huh? What's that?
How many of these are you going to play?
Oh, none of them. No, I've already started playing like Animal Well, Xenotilt is. I love video game pinball, and the team that's doing this, it's really, really awesome. They're leaning to that whole TurboGrafx 16 aesthetic around like Devil's Crush and Alien Crush and stuff. It's so good. But Hi-Fi Rush and Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, I had to do it. Of course. You may have frozen for. Susan did.
Ooh.
Susan bounced out there. Yep, we lost Susan, but that's okay. That's all right. We'll have her pop back in.
Nice.
But that's it.
So what are you playing?
What am I playing?
Yeah.
So I started playing, of course, Panzer Dragoon Remake to play that. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove. I've been doing that as well. I've tried all of them. I'm in playing Hi-Fi Rush, but Xenotilt and Animal Well. Animal Well is just 40 megabytes. 40 megabytes big. Yeah, so that's what I'm playing.
It just keeps opening up, and I mean it's a Metroidvania, so there's more and more and more. The only calibration I have is how many of the action objects I have. I think I have 6, and it looks like maybe there's 8. So,
what do you mean? Say that?
I don't know. I don't want to spoil the fun.
Oh no, yeah, don't for sure. But it is beautiful. I love the art aesthetic behind it too. It's just stunning. Really, really beautiful. And then today on Rewind, I'm going to be playing Star Wars Rebel Assault 1 and 2. the first CD-ROM Star Wars games, and they are deliciously horrible. And I mean, I love it all.
Rebel Assault. I love Rebel Assault too.
Yes, but we love it because we knew where we were at the time. We're like, this is it's like playing a movie. Now go back and play it, and you're just like, wow. Wow, that was fantastic. We were very simple creatures back then. No, I know. In all seriousness, it's they are a lot of fun to dig into. So I'm going to go back and play through them, a bit of them today. Yeah, so it should be fun. So yeah, but I think, folks, yeah, that's probably like right up to the end of the program today.
I'll show you what I'm playing here. This is the Razer Kishi. I finally.
Oh yeah.
And it's a game controller for an iPhone, and I've been getting into Warzone here.
Nice.
It's very interesting to play it, and the phone gets really hot. But yeah, it's just like playing an ordinary Warzone or Call of Duty multiplayer experience.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's I'm sorry, someone asked who made those LucasArts. Yes, it was LucasArts that made it. The Star Wars games, but yeah, the Razer Kishi. I think you said it's the 2, right? The next version. It's the best mobile, phone controller. Yeah, I mean, it really is awesome. So, how about you, Mark? You playing anything good?
Animal Wow, man.
Yeah, I see you pop up on Steam. I'm like, oh, he's at it again.
I'm gonna go play it right now.
All right, well, very good. Well, if you guys go ahead and go and do that stuff, I want to thank Dean, Mark, and Susan for being with us again on Boss Rush. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Yeah, a little air horn there, and we got our little stuff in there. And we'll be back, of course, next week, next Friday, same time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. So thanks, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Go play. Start clearing out some of your backlog, your pile of shame on Steam. I know my pile just got a whole lot bigger. And what a way to end the program by saying my pile got bigger. All righty, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and awesome weekend. We'll see you next week.
Right.
See you, gang. Bye.
Bye.